Hi, in this lesson we're going to be talking about how to use functions in Microsoft Excel. So functions are kind of like formulas. They're a little different, but they're kind of the same. So you could think of functions as predefined formulas that perform calculations. So you could think of functions as predefined formulas that perform calculations using specific values called arguments. So they'll do this in a particular order. They could be used to perform complex or simple calculations. So we're going to go over some examples here of how to do that. So there's a couple places you could get to them. You could go to the function button here for insert function. Then up here you have some commonly used functions right here. And then if you go to more functions, it will take you to the same place as if you click on the function button there. So let's say we wanted to find the average dollar amount out of all the money that is due here. And let's say we want to put it in the bottom right here underneath it. So what we could do, we could just click on this bottom cell because that's where our value is going to go for our calculation, and just kind of highlight up here. And then we could either click on here and find average in the list. It's already there under most recently used, and it's going to be there because it's a commonly used one. Or we could get to it from here and just click on average. So this is telling us that the average of all these dollar amounts here is $107.83. Okay, so now let's go to our Silver Club, and let's say we want to find the total owed by our Silver Club members. We could do the same thing, just give us a spot here to put the value. Then we could go up here and just click on the sum button here, and that'll give us a total of all these cells here. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Now let's say we're going to go to our functions here, and let's say we want to find the maximum, which you can see here returns the largest value in a set of values. So click OK. And so now it's asking for the range D2 to D17. That's what we have highlighted here. So we click OK. And this is telling us that 186.54 is the maximum value of all of these. And if we look in the list, we can see it right there that that's the maximum value. All right, so let's go to our functions here and see what else we have. So there's various categories. So we have the most recently used. You have all if you want to see everything, and just scroll down the big list here. Financial, date and time, math and trig, statistical, information, engineering. So a lot of these things are very complex. So if we click on engineering, for example, returns the modified Bessel function. So whatever that means. So a lot of these things are just going to be kind of confusing here. This might come in handy. Converts a binary number to decimal. Probably same for here. It converts to hexadecimal. And you have some financial settings here for accruing interest, coupon periods, depreciation, converting dollars. So you can see there are a lot of functions here, which, like I said, are predefined formulas. So think of them as kind of the same thing. But for the most part, you're probably going to use what's up here, the sum and the average, and then maybe minimum or maximum. That's why they put this here, because these are the most commonly used functions for most people. Unless you're an Excel guru who's using it for accounting or tax purposes, then you're probably going to use a lot more of the complex functions. But for beginners and most normal people, I should say, you're probably just going to use these functions right here. But if you want to insert something else, you could go up here and browse the categories or do a search for something and see if you could find something that'll help you out. Hi, in this lesson we're going to be talking about the formula bar. So we're just going to have a brief discussion of how it works before we get into the lesson on formulas itself. So here's the formula bar up here, and you might have noticed when you type something in, you can see its value up here no matter what it is. And it doesn't have to be a formula to be in the formula bar. And when you click on something to show its value here, so it matches the cell that you clicked on, you could actually change it from here as well. So if I want to make this a 5, and I just press enter, now you can see it changed it to a 5. But you can only view one cell at a time. So if I highlight these two, you can see only the first cell that shows up in the box here or in the formula bar. So another thing you could use it for, which comes in handy, is to paste in values. If you don't want to paste them into the cell itself, let's say it has some strange formatting and you want to just have basic formatting or remove the formatting, you could paste it in here if instead of in the cell itself. But what you want to do is you want to put the cursor in the cell that you want to paste it in, or highlight that cell. So let's say we have some funky text here, it's red and this strange font. Let's copy this. And if we were to paste it right in the cell, you can see it does that, and that might not be the desired result. So of course you could go here and pick your paste options if you want to do that, but a quicker method is just to paste it in here in the formula bar. Just make sure you're in the right cell first. Now you can see it pasted it and just took away the formatting from the Word document here. So that's another very handy feature of the formula bar, even if it's not formula related. Okay, so now referring back to our functions that we used in the last lesson. So if you remember, functions are pretty much predefined formulas. So we have this one that gives the sum of all of these values here. So if you click on it, you can see equals the sum. That's the function here of D2 to D17. So D2 to D17. So this whole section here equals this. And if we wanted to change it, let's say we don't want D17, we could say D16. And you can see it moves the blue up there, and we press enter. Now you can see that it's D2 to D16. And it's giving us this little warning box here. The formula in the cell refers to a range that has additional numbers adjacent to it, and that's because this formula is not including this cell here, and it is adjacent to it. But you could just ignore this for this situation here. And let's say we had some other random number here, which was 15.25. And we wanted to add that to our total. We could say, so the sum of D2 to D16 plus, then we could either type in the cell number here, which is G2, or just click on it like that and press enter. So now we have the sum of D2 to D16 plus G2. And then if we go back to our gold clip here, we had this average one. This is using the average of D2 to D18. And of course, we could edit this in the formula bar as needed. So you can see that the formula bar comes in handy for either typing in formulas or editing formulas or even editing functions that you've already used. So like I said, in the next lesson, we'll be going over some basic formulas and showing you how to create your own. Hi, in this lesson, we're going to be talking about formulas and show you how to create some formulas. So you could think of a formula as an expression that operates on values in a range of cells. So you take that range, you apply a formula to it to get your desired results. So we're going to show you how to use a few of the more basic ones, because some of these formulas are just ridiculously out of control, where they could take up this whole formula bar here with calculations. So we're just going to stick with the basics for now. So for the first one, we're going to want to find the total amount due. So we used this as a function before, so now we're going to do it as a formula by typing it in manually, or at least semi-manually. All right, so we have our total amount due, and we want to put it here, let's say. So to begin, we're going to click on the formula bar, type in the equal sign, telling it that we're going to start a formula here, and then we're going to use our action here, which is sum. So as you're typing, it'll kind of give you some suggestions here and then give you a little description of it. Then we want to do the parentheses here. And now what we could do is we could either put in the values manually, so this would be D2 to D18, or since we're right at this point in the formula, we could just drag our range right there and let go, and that tells us D2 to D18. And if we're done, we just close it up like that and then press enter, and there's our formula right there. So you just have to make sure you close it up with that ending parentheses there, otherwise it thinks you're going to want to add more to it. And then of course you could add more once you close it up, additional formulas on top of formulas and so on, but we're just sticking with the basics for now. Okay, so now for this one, we want to decide if we're going to send a bill to the member or not based on certain criteria. So right now I have the formula already in there. We're going to use the if formula. Let me go to the PDF here. Performs a conditional test and returns one value if the condition is true and another if it is false. So yes or no in our case. You could use whatever value you want for yes or no. You could do true or false and whatever else you want to put. Okay, so in our case here, so if D2, which is the amount they owe, is greater than 100, we do want to send them a bill. If it's not, we don't want to send them a bill. So we have this one already done here. So D2 is greater than 100, $121. So therefore the value is yes. And this is less than 100. So what you could do for formulas, if you highlight the formula cell here, see this little green box in the corner, you can make a plus right here. Then you kind of drag to copy that formula into the next cell. And you'll see it changes the value in the formula bar as well. So now this is D3. And since this is less than 100, it gives us the value of no. So what you could do is if we want to go all the way down, and now we have our answers if we need to send them a bill or not. And let's say this one changes here to 101. Watch the box to the right here. See, now it changes to yes, because now it's over 100. So once again, it's the if command. So equals if, and then parentheses. Then we want our action here. If that cell number, so equals if, that's the formula we're going to use here. And now the next part is the cell number. If it's greater than 100, it could be less than, you can make it equal to. Make sure you put the comma, parentheses for your answers, yes or no. These could be whatever you want. Make sure you put a comma in between and make sure you close it off at the end. Okay, so now moving on to the next one. How many members owe money? So for this one, we're using the count function or formula. So equals count and then our range, which is D2 to D18, just like the range down here. So this is going to count. So let's see what the count formula does. Counts the number of cells that contain numbers within a specified range. Okay, so since all these cells contain numbers, we get 17 because there's 17 cells here. So if we say we deleted Jan here, let's say she didn't owe any money, just deleted it, watch the count there. Now it goes to 16 because only 16 of these cells contain a numeric value. So even if this was 0, it's going to say 17 because 0 is still a number. So let's put that back. So as you can see, using basic formulas is not that complicated once you get the pattern down of how you have to build them, equals with the function, parentheses, the data range or value, how you want to act on it and close it off, and then you'll be good to go. And if you do something wrong, let's say, put that there, it's going to say 0 because it doesn't know what that is. Or let's say, let's get rid of the colon in here. Now it says 0 because it's not built correctly. Okay, and going back here, let's say we took out the comma here, found a typo and it wants to correct it. We say yes, then it fixed it for us. Or if we take off the quotes here, see it gives us this pound name question mark telling us there's a problem with the formula. The formula contains unrecognized text. So if you do something wrong, it will tell you, and then sometimes it'll have a suggestion for you depending if you're close, and then at other times it's not going to be able to help you if you're too far off here. And then of course remember Control-Z is your friend when you want to undo things. And then you can see we were able to copy this by just moving the box down like something like this. If we go drag this down, it's not going to work the same because if we click here, it's using a different range. So the real range is D2 to D18. So this is changing 5 to 21 because we're on 5 here, going down to 21. This is 11 to 27. So it's just kind of copying this formula here and trying to apply it to these other cells. But in this case, it's not going to work because it's not that type of formula that you could just drag down and fill in the other cells with. So we just delete that, go back to normal. And then same here, if we change this maybe to Z, Then it's giving us some funky number because it's doing D2 to Z18. So I'm not even sure where it's getting that 777,000 from, but obviously that is not correct. So keep that in mind. Just because you don't get an error, it could still be wrong. So you just have to check your work here and make sure you have the right data range. This one's obviously a mistake because you could tell that value is way too big, but if it was something different, you might not realize it was wrong, and then you're going to end up with the wrong information because you had the wrong value up here. Okay, so once again, just figure out what formula you want to use, then start typing it, equals, then the name of the action you want to take, then the quotes, and then your data value in there, and then any additional criteria. Make sure you close it off, and then test it by pressing enter. Okay, so speaking of complex formulas, just real quick, let me open a notepad file here. I quickly went out online and found this one here. So here's an example of a formula that you can technically use. See how you have equals A1 plus match, then some data set here, and then another data set here, with some other actions, and then transposing it, and so on and so on. So you could see how complicated these formulas could get. So for now, I just suggest you learn how to use the basic formulas like we've done in this example, just to get the hang of it, and then you can kind of branch out later as you get more comfortable with them. Hi, in this lesson we're going to talk about filtering your data in Microsoft Excel. So you can think about filtering as displaying only the rows that meet the criteria you specify, and then hiding rows that you do not want to be displayed. So it pretty much boils down to seeing only what you want to see. So we're going to do some filtering on our amount here again. So we've been working a lot with this column. So let's say we want to view only people who owe more than $100 and less than $200. That's what we want to do. We could just click on any cell in this section here. And then if we right click, we have some filter options here, cell color, font color, icon, but that's not what we want. So we're going to go up to the editing group here, click on sort and filter, click on filter. So now we have these drop down here on our columns. So there's number filters, there's some sorting options, which we're not going to worry about now. So what you can do, if you just want to have some cells not be shown, you could uncheck the boxes. Right now they're in numerical order. They're not in the order we have them listed there. So let's say we don't want that 205 to be shown. You could just do that. Okay. And now that 205 is gone. And then Control Z again, bring it back. So what we want to do, we want to use this number filter since we're on numbers here. And you could pick one of these. So for example, we want greater than 100. And then we could use and or, so it could be one or the other. So if we're going to do and, because we want it to be less than 200. If we chose or, it would be one or the other, but we want both. So we're going to do that. And another option, let's just cancel this. If you do a custom filter, it'll bring up that same box here. And then we just have to pick greater than 100. And less than 200. So we want in between 100 and 200. Now watch what we have here. So we have some that are over 100. We have some that are under 100. And we just have this one that's over 200. So we just want to show anything in between 100 and 200. So we'll click on OK. Now it filters our data. So now we only see values over 100 or under 200. Then you notice our total is still the same though, because these values here, they're not deleted, we're just hiding them. So by filtering them out, so we're not removing them, we're just changing the way they're displayed on the page. And then if we want to clear it, we could come back here and clear filter from amount. That's the amount column here. And now we have everything back. And then of course we could apply filters here too as well. There's some date filters. So you can see how it reads the information in the cells and gives you filters that you could use. And then you could also do the custom filter here as well. Then we have the name. These are just text filters. So we could do, begins with or ends with. We want to do something with the names like that. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot to filtering. It's just a way to display only the data you want to be displayed. And just remember, it's only temporary and it's not removing the data, it's just, hiding it, I guess you could say. All right, so let's clear out this filter here, turning that off. So once again, just pick a column, click on filter. Then you have these drop downs. And then you could either hide cells by unchecking them here, or you could pick a filter from the suggestions, or do a custom filter and apply your own. Hi, in this lesson we're going to talk about sorting your data so that way you could view it in a format that works better for you. So there's multiple ways to sort. You could do simple sorts, you could sort multiple columns at once, you could sort different levels within your sorting, and so on. So let's start with some basic sorting first. So let's select this column here, and let's click on sort, and let's do smallest to largest. Now see, we get this message here, expand the selection or continue with current selection. Watch what happens if we choose continue with current selection. Watch the names here. So John and Neil and Julian, those are the first three. So now these numbers have been sorted, but these have not. So now these numbers are all wrong because they don't match up with the associated person. So that's why it asked if you wanted to expand the selection. So it's always important to do that when sorting unless you don't care about the other data that's within the same rows. Okay, so let's try that again. Select the column we're going to sort on. Let's do smallest to largest. Now let's expand the selection. And now it's sorted everything. Change the name to go along with it. So let's confirm it. Let's undo that. And let's look at an example here. So let's see who is 99. So Austin is $99. So let's try it again. Okay, let's check out Austin. $99, so we know it works. So everything now matches up. So it's always important to expand the selection when doing so. And you don't have to expand the whole selection. Let's say you only care about this area here. And now we're going to click on sort. But now this time we'll click on custom sort just to try something different. Now from this window we'll choose what we want to sort by and we'll choose amount. Smallest to largest. And we'll click OK. And let's make sure that Austin still gets $99. Which he did, so we know that worked. Now all this data was sorted together while this was not. So let's undo that again. Okay. So now we're back to the starting. Okay, so we have Joe, Jesse, and then two Marias. So let's sort it again. So everything here sorted while this stuff stayed the same. But in most situations, you're going to want to most likely sort everything together because this is most likely tied to these names and stuff, so you want to keep everything on the right line. So let's undo that. Okay, so now let's try a more advanced sort. So we want to sort all three of these here together. We're going to leave all this alone for now just for simplicity's sake, so we could focus on the matter at hand here. So we're going to select all these here. We're going to go to sort, custom sort. All right, so we want to sort by advisor name first. And then we want to add a level. And our choices are only going to be what we selected here. So we're going to do service level. And then we'll add another level, package letter. And watch what happens here. So to kind of take a look at how it is now, the names are mixed up, everything's kind of mixed up here. We'll click OK. All right, so now you can see advisor names are sorted alphabetically, like that. And then within the advisor name, the service level is sorted numerically. So Jesse has 3, and this is sorted 2, 2, 4. Joe has all these, 1, 2, 3. Maria, 1, 2, 4. Tom, 2, 3, 4. And then also the package letters are sorted. So A and B, A, C, C and B, and so on. So as you could see, you could do a lot of different sorting to kind of really fine tune the way your data is displayed. So let me undo that. So now let's do everything. Now that everything's selected here, let's say let's sort by amount, and then you could add a level, and now you can see we have all of these columns available to sort by. Then we could do, let's say, last name, and we'll do due date. Okay, so amount first, last name, due date. So you can see amount first, lowest to highest, but you'll notice on last name, it's not really sorted alphabetically because it's tied to this amount value here. And same for due date because everything was tied to this. So your results are going to vary based on what you're trying to sort on. So like I said, for this example, since we sorted by amount first, everything else is kind of tied to it and it's just going to fall where it falls because this is the primary sort field. Okay, so once again, you could do a sort by just one column if you want. And you could pick one of these, smallest to largest, largest to smallest, but just keep in mind, when you do that, it's going to want to expand the selection to make sure everything is included, or if you want to just continue with the current selection, but then again, it's going to throw all of your other information off if all of these rows are tied to each other with the values in each column. So hopefully that makes sense. So what I would do when it comes to sorting is just try different combinations and make sure you just undo each time or don't save. So in case something goes wrong, you could revert back to the original configuration.